Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is Friday and we are testing out another foundation, so I guess it's Foundation Friday. We are diving straight into the new Fenty Eaze Drop Blurring Skin Tint Foundation. This just launched on the Sephora and the Fenty Beauty website. I went ahead and picked it up. I had to pick it up in 2 shades, which I will get into that in just a minute. I've actually been testing this for the last 3 days. Today is my 3rd day, and I have a lot to say about it. A lot to say. Before we jump into the details about the foundation, up here on the screen is an image of my age, my skin type, and what I look for and what I like in foundations. If you guys are new to my channel, I feel like it's very important for you to know what I like and what I look for when I am reviewing foundations, because complexion products are so different for so many different people. We all need something different from our complexion products, and we're all looking for something different. So I feel like it's good for the audience to know what I like and what I look for when I am testing out new foundations. I will also leave that information in the description box down below, along with popular foundations out on the market and what shades I wear in those foundations, so you can kind of use it as a guide. So let's dive right in to the details about this. This retails for $29.50. Actually get 32 mils instead of 30. They launched this in 25 shades. Now, let me say this right off the bat. I have personally loved Fenty's shade range. And of course, it's not only because there's such a wide variety, right? I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. But it's the numbering system. It's so genius to me. And I remember when she first launched that first foundation, I was obsessed with the shade range because it was so easy for me to understand. It was on this grid system. They use it consistently throughout their launches. The concealer is the same thing. Like, I can't tell you, I wish that brands would learn from Fenty Beauty and understand how easy their shade range is to get. Like, the shade range is fantastic the way that they've set it up. It's genius. I don't know why it's so hard for brands to get this, but like, Fenty Beauty nailed it. Not only do they have a ton of shades, but the shade range is just so easy to understand. Okay, so in this foundation, you know, typically their other foundations come with a lot more shades. So because they weren't releasing a lot of shades, what they did was they said, okay, so for example, I wear the shade 300 in their traditional foundation. So if you look at the charts, for me being 300, I would be shade 11. When I looked at the description of the shade 11, it was medium with neutral undertones. And I was like, oh crap. So I am a medium to tan with like a warm undertone. So I did not feel like the neutral was going to work for me. So I decided to buy shade 12. That one is medium with warm golden undertones. So that was the reason why I bought both shades. So when I got both of the shades, I checked out the shades, and yes, shade 11 was neutral. It was like the perfect neutral. I have to say, perfect neutral. It's not too gray. It's not too, it's like, it's a good neutral. However, for me, I needed a little bit of warmth, right? So, but shade 12, which has the warmth, was just a little bit too yellow. So combining these together was magic. It's like the perfect match for my skin, which kind of bums me out because I typically don't like, especially if you're my skin twinsy, I don't like coming on here and having to mix shades and foundations. I always think that's frustrating for the audience and the viewer. You're like, really? I don't want to have to buy both those shades. So I get it, and I feel really bad. For those of you that are my skin twin, I feel really bad. But these two together are like the perfect match. And in order for me to really test it, I really needed to have the right shade. So I have worn this now for 3 days. The first day I wore it for 9 hours, but with no powder. And I wore it with the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream. Yesterday, I wore it for 12 hours with the Tatcha Silk Canvas Hydrating Primer, and I powdered it. Now, I have had some things happen with this foundation, which I will get into all of that. But so I was talking to my friend Mel, and she said, you know, I'm testing it right now too. Try it without a primer and see what it does. Try it without a primer and a sponge. So that's what I did today. I am not wearing a primer. I just put it directly over top of my skincare this morning, and I applied it only with a sponge. So you guys typically know how I prefer to apply foundation is to put it on, you know, apply it with a brush and then push it into my skin with a sponge. This, I can see why she suggested a sponge, because the sponge does give you kind of the most natural, because my experience was it was sitting on top of my skin and it would start to get really patchy and kind of pull away in weird ways. So I thought, what am I doing wrong with this? Like, how can I make this work? I haven't really noticed it separating quite like it was, meaning that I would just have these like weird patches. So today it hasn't done that. It is a little bit heavy in certain areas and it's exaggerating some of my pores, which I will show you guys that out in the daylight, because I am going to do a 6-hour check-in later on, probably in like another 2 or 3 hours. So when I do the daylight check-in, I will pull you guys in and show you guys what it's looking like right now. So I will be doing my wear test today with no primer and just using the sponge only, and I did powder it. Now, when I say I powdered, I only used a tiny bit of powder. So I used the Hourglass Translucent Setting Powder, just lightly dusted it all over the skin, but I don't go in heavy with powder, so just FYI. So the description on this foundation, it reads, a lightweight, buildable, light to medium coverage skin tint that leaves skin looking blurred, smooth, and flexible shades for all. So this quickly and visibly evens out your complexion with a blurred effect. The Hydra Blend Complex and humidity, sweat, and transfer resistant formula has a smooth texture that layers well with primer and skincare. So again, this is claiming to be humidity, sweat, and transfer resistant. Now, I can tell you that I don't know about the humidity because I live in Utah and it's dry as hell here, okay? So I can't tell you about the humidity. What I can tell you is I worked out yesterday and I was sweating, and it was a mess. So it's not been my experience that it's sweat proof, and it's not been my experience that it's transfer proof. So I don't technically know that those two are like fully true. But I do also think that if you're wearing it as a skin tint and you're lightly applying it, then I think that could be a possibility, which I will get into all of that because it does matter how you apply this. There is a big, it depends on how you apply it and what you're looking for when you're wearing this foundation. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the application, showing you guys my first day of wearing it and my experience of applying it and all of that. And then later on, I will take you guys outside on my porch and show you guys what it's looking like in natural lighting. And then tonight, after wearing it for 12 hours, I will come back and give you guys my full thoughts. There's a lot of things about this foundation that I think you guys need to know. So we're going to get into all of that in my final thoughts. So I will see you guys then. So we're going to jump into this new Fenty skin tint. So it's earlier in the morning. I have to actually run to an appointment with my daughter. So we're going to throw this on. I'm going to wear it all day. I'm going to wear it for the next couple days, see how it goes. I know everybody has just been so curious about this because it does sound like the perfect summer foundation. So this is 11 and this is 12. So 12 is kind of warm. Let's put it on the face. All right, so this is 11. Let's put 11 on the face. See how 11. I have fake tan on my skin, my neck, maybe a little bit, but not on my face. I haven't put fake tan on my face for, I don't know, probably a month now. I don't know. It's been a minute. So this is 12. Okay, so 12 is a little bit yellow. Shade 11 is like the perfect shade, but the tone is just a little bit off. But I'm wondering what it would look like if I mixed them together. Ooh, that's a perfect shade. Maybe it's a little bit warm, but that's a good shade, right? So mixing 11 and 12. So it says shake well and apply a few drops with fingers or the full-bodied foundation brush sold separately. So I'm going to mix these two on the back of my hand. I'm just going to dip my brush down in. I've already prepped my skin. I'm just going to take the brush and go down in and apply it. Oh yeah, mixing those two. I mean, you can't really even see where my skin is. Like, these two shades are perfect together for me. Like, absolutely perfect. I mean, yeah, I have foundation here, but like you see on my forehead, like those two shades blended beautifully. I'm just going to use the brush all the way around, and then I will use a sponge to kind of push it into the skin. It's a light coverage skin tint, right? So for me, I want a medium coverage. So I wanted to see if I could wear it as a medium coverage, but still kind of have that skin tint feel to it. So I'm going to pick up what's left on the back of my hand here, which isn't a lot, but I just don't want the sponge to kind of pick up everything, you know? So I'm just going to kind of push this into the skin with the sponge, because that's my preferred way to apply foundation. I like to put it on with a brush, get, you know, a small even layer all over the skin with a brush, and then push it in with a sponge to give that sponge finish. You know, the sponge just really gives you a very skin-like finish. Okay, so I'm done with the application. A couple of thoughts here. So number one, I feel like my skin is a little bit dry. So I did use the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream. Don't get me wrong, the Magic Cream is not technically a primer, right? It's not technically a primer. It's really a moisturizer. I like it because I feel like my foundation kind of melts into my skin over top of it very evenly and very pretty. And I feel like it gives me a pretty good hydration throughout the day, but not too much hydration because you don't really need a lot. So that's why I use the Magic Cream, but it's not technically a primer, right? So even though I use the Magic Cream, my skin feels a little bit dry. It does. It kind of has a dry feeling to it. And this is starting to get a little bit dry. Like, it's emphasizing parts on my skin that I don't really like. I feel like I missed some, like right here on the center of my face. Like, I feel like I picked up too much around my nose. So I got a pretty decent, I would say light medium coverage, but my skin feels dry. And this is really weird because right now I'm not dry. Right now I am pretty normal. This is, I kind of feel like my face is like, this feels almost mask-like to me. And I don't want to say that to be like it's a mask, because it's not a makeup mask. But you know how when you put on like a mask that is, you know, that's going to start drying on the skin and you're leaving it on for like 10 minutes or something. I'm going to grab a little bit more and kind of build up right here around my nose. But you know, when you're putting on like a facial mask, and you know, as it's drying, you can start feeling your skin kind of tightening up. That's kind of how this feels. I mean, not that extreme, but it does feel kind of drying to me. So I don't know. I'm not so sure I am like fully loving this. I'm curious how this will wear for those who have oily skin. I did notice that my friend, her name is Ivory Cherry, she has oily skin and she tested this for 2 days. So I will leave a link to her video in the description box down below. So I would definitely recommend, if you have oily skin, to head over to Ivory's channel and see what she has to say. But I feel like this is kind of drying and I'm not loving it right now. Let's turn down the ring light so you guys can see it in more. So I have the 2 soft boxes sitting in front, and then there's one backlight that kind of balances the light out a little bit. You can kind of see the Magic Cream coming through the foundation, but I don't know. I feel like my skin is a little bit dry. So we'll see how it wears throughout the day. I'm hoping that it's just for that initial application. And then once the natural oils start to come through, maybe it will start to kind of not feel so tight. When you're wearing a foundation that's like transfer proof, sweat proof, humidity proof, all of that, it tends to be a little bit on the drying side, right? Because it has to be in order to be proof of those things. So that could be what I'm feeling. And hopefully through the day, as my day progresses, we'll see if it doesn't feel so dry. It doesn't technically look dry, but it feels a little dry. But the ring light always makes everything look so much better, you guys. So the only thing that I'm not liking is it's emphasizing this situation. So you can kind of see how the pores around here are emphasized. Right around here. I feel like this is a foundation or skin tint. I'm going to call it a foundation, but I feel like this is a foundation that's going to emphasize pores and stuff like that. So I don't know, you guys. I'm not fully in love with it right now, but we'll see how it wears. What's weird is that going over, you know, I probably did bring the Fenty up a little bit, and I feel like my concealer's not meshing well with this. What is, okay, what's the deal here? I don't quite understand what is going on. I normally get like a really smooth application, but for some reason, it acted weird over top of that Fenty product. I don't know why. So that's it for the application portion of the video. I will see you guys in my next check-in. Okay, so I wanted to pop out here and give you my 6-hour check-in. I applied this just around noon today. This morning was crazy. I had forgotten that I needed to take my dog to her grooming appointment, so I had to jump out of bed to drive her to the grooming appointment. So anyway, I was later today getting my makeup on. Fortunately, it's that time of year where it doesn't get as dark as quick. So right now it is 6:08. So I've had it on for 6 hours. I wanted to pop out here and just show you guys what this is looking like. So let's go ahead and zoom in. Look at all the craziness. Okay, so first thing that you will notice out here in the daylight is that this can get a little bit textured in a way where it exaggerates my pores, especially right along here. I normally don't have a lot of like pore issues in this area. This is more of my like wrinkled area. This is my textured area. This foundation will like cling to every pore and exaggerate it. You can see it right here in this area. See how like yesterday, or not yesterday, day before, the first day that I wore it, I had a little bit of a dry patch right here. And it clung bad, so bad. This is like a clinger to any dry patch. I don't think it necessarily looks terrible along the texture. It does a good job covering it. I mean, you can see my skin coming through, but it does a good job covering my texture. But I don't love it like right through here. It does let the hyperpigmentation come through, and it gets a little bit patchy in certain like weird areas. It also gets like really gunked up and patchy around my hairline. So this is one that it will stick to my hairline and it will just stay there, and like I don't love it. Yeah, it doesn't look bad around the nose area, but it again, right here along these wrinkles, it settles into those wrinkles and it exaggerates the wrinkles. I'm not like a huge fan of this foundation over my pores and wrinkles and texture and all that. It's not my favorite. It has been my experience. I will say this is probably the best. This is the best it's looked since I started trying this foundation out. No, I guess no primer and using the sponge only did help it, but I still am not loving this foundation. It's not my favorite. Of course, I will get into, you know, all of my experiences later on in my final thoughts, but I just wanted to show you guys what it's looking like out here in the natural daylight so you can kind of just see it for what it is. And hopefully that is helpful for you, especially zooming in, because yeah, the beauty lights make everything look good. So this is real life. This is what it would look like if you found me outside filling up my car with gas. So that's it for the daylight 6-hour check-in. I will be back later on this evening, right around the midnight time, to give you my full thoughts on this foundation. So I will see you guys then. Okay, everyone, I am back to give my final thoughts. It's currently 12:06 at night, so I've officially had this on for pretty much 12 hours. We're gonna go ahead and zoom you guys in. I'm gonna turn down the ring light so you guys can see what this looks like. I do have the soft boxes on. So I'm missing some of the foundation here. And this foundation gets really patchy. As you can see, like if I look down, you can see where it's sitting on top of the skin. I've lost some of the foundation up and around my hairline, but that could just be from going like this, right? So it has been 12 hours. I want to make that perfectly clear. And typically when I lose foundation, it's like right here in this area. So, you know, I'm not expecting any foundation to look beautiful 12 hours later, but I do have a lot of foundations that look really good 12 hours later, right? So I want to make that clear. But this stuff right here is what has happened the whole time. It separates from my skin, and my skin right now feels pretty dry. Even though I have a glow to my skin, which I pretty much already have a natural glow to my skin anyway, because I do use really good skincare, but my skin feels dry. So even though it looks a little glowy, my skin feels dry, okay? So I am missing some of it along here. But you can see it's kind of just sitting on top of the skin. Like it never just like melts into the skin, which has been my biggest complaint. This does look a little bit better along here, but it still emphasizes like every pore in this area. And it really doesn't do it here, and I'm not sure why, but it's here. Oh, it's like around that like crinkling skin. As you get older, you get kind of this, you know, this crinkling skin right along here. This will emphasize that like crazy on me. It's done it all 3 days that I've worn it. This is the best it's looked. All 3 days that I've worn it, this is the best that it's looked. So no primer and using the sponge only was a really good tip for this foundation. Along here, I haven't really lost any coverage. But it's like, you can see right here, it like goes down in and kind of makes the pores look dirty. Okay. So just to break it down, the first day I wore it with the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream, but I didn't powder it that day. And it was terrible. I only wore it for about 9 hours, and it looked like I had it on for hours and hours and hours. It just peeled. Like literally I had these big spots and it peeled and like broke away from the skin. So the next day, which was yesterday, I wore the, where is my Tatcha? The Tatcha Liquid Canvas. This one is a little bit more hydrating than the original Silk Canvas. And I also powdered it, and it didn't look very good. It like balled up kind of with that primer. So like, when I tried to kind of blend it out with my finger, so yesterday I was going like this and kind of blending it out with my hands and then kind of pushing it in with the sponge, and it still just did not look good. I powdered it, just didn't look good. So today is the best that it's looked. So I have to say, this is not my favorite foundation. My biggest complaint with this is it sits on top of the skin. All 3 days, I've not been able to find a way to make it like press down into my skin and kind of become my skin. When I'm wearing a skin tint, that's what I'm wanting. I'm wanting something that just becomes my skin, right? And I think because this formula is trying to be waterproof and sweat proof and, you know, transfer proof and all of this proof stuff, it's a very interesting formula that you probably have to find a way to make it work. And I will continue to wear it and play with it, because I do think that there's probably a way for me to wear this and make it work. I just haven't found it. When I think of a skin tint, I want it to be my skin but better. And I've read so many of the reviews on the Sephora website, and so many people are loving this. So don't take my word that, you know, this is gold or anything. Like, this is working for so many people. So kind of, you know, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because this does seem to be a very well-loved, wonderful skin tint. The good thing is that it is only $29, so it's not super expensive. And Sephora does have a really good return. I'm not sure about Fenty. I don't think I've ever ordered from Fenty. But I do know that Sephora has a good return policy. So if you buy this and you decide that you just don't love it, you can always return it. And that, at the end of the day, is a good thing, right? So for me, this is just not what I was hoping it would be. I felt like I got pretty decent coverage out of it. It's a light medium, but it's not sheer. So I'm getting coverage out of it. It cancels out redness. It cancels out, you know, any type of situation that you're having. My biggest complaint is it gets patchy and pulls away from the skin because it sits on top of the skin. Number two, it gets dry. Like for the first few hours that I wear this, my skin feels really dry. Once my skin starts doing its oil production, it doesn't feel dry. Number three, I do not like how it emphasizes my pores, and it emphasizes things on my face that I don't really realize I have. For example, when I use the original Tarte Shape Tape, like the drying one, and I put it on my under eye, it exaggerates wrinkles that I don't even know exist. That's kind of what this foundation does for this area right here. I don't know if it's because I'm older. I don't know if, now here's the other thing. I feel like it doesn't look really good on the wrinkles. So like right here in this area, now you guys know I do get Botox up here. So, but like right here, it sits heavy and gets really kind of thick in that area. I am looking for a really good humidity proof, sweat proof, transfer proof, like foundation that I can love during the summer, but this one just fell short of what I was looking for. So I'm kind of bummed because I love the shade range and I love Fenty products overall. I really had high hopes for this, but it just didn't quite work out. So share with us in the comment section down below if you were having the same struggles that I am and you found a way to make it work. Please let us know in the comments down below. Now, if you've bought this foundation and you are absolutely loving it, share with us in the comment section down below your skin type and what you've loved about it. Because again, this is just my experience, but I am just one human, right? So your guys' opinion and input in the comment section is just as helpful to others as hearing me talk. So share with us in the comment section down below and let us know, especially if your opinion differs from mine. Let's have a conversation. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in today's video. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Love you. Bye.